What's your
Have you played
earliest
this game before?
No. I lived in actually Allen for 11 years. My work in the Southland Conference. There weren't a lot of people saying, "Hey, I got tickets for you." It's kind of a high demand ticket. And then when I became commissioner of that league, I was busy with my own work on Saturdays. I would drive by with great admiration and wonder what's going on in there. So it's a fun chance to see it today.
What's the dynamic of this game? How does it fit? This rivalry really fit in the dynamic of the SEC?
I think it's consistent with what we experience on a weekly basis. I think Kirk was the one who asked me last year in Austin about the environment in Austin for Alabama and Texas, and I said it's familiar. I've been to Jacksonville a number of times for that neutral site rivalry where it's split down the middle. There's not a state fair there, so the corn dog level is probably lower in Jacksonville than it is here in Dallas. But the intensity, walking in, hearing the fans, actually being friendly towards each other, but clearly rivals, is something familiar, and I'm really excited because I think there's this almost seamless integration that's nearly upon us between moving from 14 and moving to 16.
Why was it important to be here this year?
I'm a fan of college football, so I wanted to be here after the announcement in 21. Remember that last year at this time, we were still making preparations for a 2025 season entry.
Right.
That changed, so this is the last opportunity for this to not be a conference game. Believe it or not, I was in Austin. I have a great friend whose daughter's getting married today. We've got a huge game in College Station on the Southeastern Conference schedule, so it worked pretty well for me to be here today.
I mean, you could be at Alabama A&M game though. You chose.
Oh, I will be.
Oh, you off
Yeah.
tonight?
I get around.
Private jet.
I get around. I get around in a car. I get around on commercial airlines. I just checked into my American flight, and every so often, other means of transportation.
That's awesome.
Do you expect this?
I'm sorry?
Did you talk to Brad Yormark this weekend?
No, we talked the week before. We were at meetings together in Chicago, and he asked me if I was planning to attend. I think I had mentioned it to him once before that at some point I'd attend, and I did. It was a really cordial conversation. Brett and I have a very healthy relationship. I was in New York a couple weeks ago and ate at his wife's family's restaurant 2 nights. He helped me out there. So I think Brett's been full-on gentleman with me. He knows what the future holds. He's working on his future as well, and I wanted to be respectful in being here, and I know he wants to be respectful as well.
You surprised he's not here?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say yes or no, and that's a decision that we all make. And again, I think that between he and I, it's been respectful, and I know he's got a healthy relationship with the schools as well.
Have you been to a game in Norman?
I have not. I attended my first football game in Austin last fall because Alabama played there. Obviously, we looked to the future. We just didn't have a conference game that matched up. Last year, I spent some time in Norman. It was actually my first visit to campus in December, and then when Arkansas and Oklahoma played in Oklahoma City, I was at that men's basketball game.
Are you saying you expect
Let me just, we've had staff last year and this year attending a variety of competition, including football. I think we've already had staff once or twice at games in Oklahoma. I think on one occasion in Austin, looking at preparations for next year.
Do you expect this game to be on the same dates in conjunction with the state fair?
I guess we'll see when I release that schedule, won't we?
I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I bet you might have a week moment.
Greg,
I do have weak moments, not particularly that one.
any timeline on announcing the 2024 dates for the schedule?
Yes,
And what would that be?
we'll let you know when it's time on that timeline.
Impressed with Oklahoma? This is a sped up process with 24 instead of 25. Are you impressed with both Oklahoma and Texas with what they're doing on their timetable to prepare for the move?
I think with both, and we start in 21. So you go back to late July 21 when I disrupted everyone's peaceful summer, mine included. We met with our athletics directors about 4 weeks later, I think, so in mid-August, a regular meeting. Chris and Joe Zoomed with us. I started a cycle of every 2 weeks visiting with Jay and Joe at the presidential level. And so the integration has been very intentional. We've had a long runway. If you remember with A&M in Missouri, we made the A&M announcement in September of 11, Missouri in November of 11. They played with us in the 2012 season. So we learned a lot from that experience. We kept all our notes. The camaraderie, we just had an athletics directors meeting. It's natural. The discussion of issues is consistent. Some adjustments around how our policies and ticket allocations. I was in Tuscaloosa, and the band was located in a different position than we're used to for conference games. And I know the Big 12 has had different policies. So that integration, I think has really been healthy.
What was the biggest thing that you learned from that Texas and Missouri, or Texas A&M and Missouri move that's helped you through this process?
First of all, when I'm asked about timing of decisions, remember we were making decisions in November, December about schedules. So don't get so wound up in timing that you don't make really effective decisions. And so we learned you can use time, even in football schedules, to make those decisions. That was one. Two is you had to be on site. So my first A&M game was in November of 2011 as a staff member. So we sent people to contests to see how things may need to change from game management. Both A&M and Missouri were great at making adjustments where there was some grace needed for a little bit of time. Sometimes it wasn't provided, sometimes it was. It's the same conversation. We developed a playbook. We knew it was important to bring the delegations to Birmingham to see all of our staff and see our operation. We did that with Oklahoma and Texas last December, not expecting that they'd be here in 24. So we're going to go through a couple of cycles of those visits, and then the date sped up. We've done it differently here. I really credit Jay Hartzell and Joe Harris wanted to be fully respectful of their Big 12 colleagues and Big 12 relationships. We've not had celebration events. I'm here just because it's time, and we learn, that there's an expectation at some point we'll celebrate. We did that immediately in College Station and in Columbia. But this has been a different dynamic. But